Hello, this is Will Rosenblum, librarian trainee at the Belmore Memorial Library, and today we are going to be talking about public libraries and why they matter. So, a brief history of libraries here in the United States. Actually, the very first library in this country began in 1638 when a man by the name of John Harvard donated a lot of money and books to a new university. He was a clergyman in Massachusetts, and his contributions were so great that the university decided to name the library and eventually the university after him. It was the Harvard University Library. But during the colonial period, most libraries were either owned by clergymen who had collections of books. Eventually, you would get some subscription libraries that people would pay money to use, as well as circulating libraries that had a similar monetary incentive. Um, this would start to change when we won our independence in the new nation that came after the American Revolution. The Library of Congress would be founded. Unfortunately, it would be destroyed during the War of 1812, but in 1815, Congress would purchase Thomas Jefferson's personal library, and the new Library of Congress was centered around the books owned by Thomas Jefferson, and libraries would only grow after that period. The 19th century, okay, would really see immigration, urbanization, westward expansion change the very fabric of this country. And as the ideal of free public education took root, so too did the ideal of free public libraries. And in 1833, in Peterborough, New Hampshire, we have one of the first public libraries on record coming into creation. And in 1846, the Smithsonian Institution was founded in Washington, D.C., and they would do a census of U.S. libraries, taking an overview of how many libraries were in the country and how many of what kind. The first convention of librarians would be held in 1853. And that was all led by Charles Coffin Jewett, who was the Smithsonian's first librarian. By the time we get to 1876, we get the next big figure, Melville Dewey, who founded the American Library Association as well as Library Journal. And most importantly, he would publish the Dewey Decimal Classification System, which public libraries still use to this day to catalog their books. In 1887, Dewey would establish the nation's first library school at Columbia University. And the next big name to really talk about is, of course, Andrew Carnegie. In 1881, with all of his money from the steel industry, he helped build 2,500 public libraries in the English-speaking world. He died in 1919, but approximately 1,700 of those 2,500 libraries were in the United States. By the time we get to the 20th century, we would have a lot of progress moving forward, where initially only the Library of Congress had more than 1 million items, but to quote World Book Encyclopedia, by the 1980s, about 150 U.S. libraries had collections of more than 1 million items, which is really an astounding figure. Basically, the most important concept to take from this brief history of libraries is that public libraries, the growth of public libraries, would mirror the growth of public education. Okay, the first libraries in this country were held by religious figures and then academic institutions. And eventually we'd have museums and special collections as well. But it wasn't until public education took root as an ideal to strive for that public libraries would follow in their importance. So what do public libraries do? Well, public libraries provide services for everyone, where an academic library only serves the academic community of that college or university. A museum library or a special collections library is going to serve those who use the museum, those who use the scholarly resources. A public library is there for everyone in the community. Public libraries offer information and programming services to adults, to children, to young adults, and to special groups like people with disabilities. The key function of a public library is to provide service for anyone who comes in, regardless of who they are, where they come from, what they believe in, what the color of their skin is. None of that matters. None of that matters. Socioeconomic status goes out the window when you enter a public library, because a public library provides services for everyone. I know I've said that a lot, but I can't stress it enough. The mission statement of our library, of the Belmore Memorial Library, is our mission is to be the information and communication center of the community, where people, ideas, and knowledge come together in a common space for the purpose of lifelong learning. Now, I know that that's wordy and a little bit complicated, but its roots are really simple and really salient. We are there for anyone in the community who wants to educate themselves, anyone who wants to read, speak, engage in appreciation and education. We are a common space for that lifelong learning to take place. We provide books, we provide audiobooks, we provide ebooks, we provide CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays. We provide video games and toys for children. We provide everything that can be used, anything that can be used in an educational or an entertaining way. We try to safeguard it for the community. That's what we are all about. We are a common space where people can come together and learn freely. You know, some of the challenges and the obstacles that public libraries face are that we live in a world where it seems on the surface that librarians and information specialists aren't necessary. You can find anything you want through Google. But as Neil Gaiman, one of my favorite authors, often says, Google can bring you back 100,000 answers. A librarian can bring you back the right one. Just Googling around for information is not the best way to find what you're looking for. And that's why libraries will always be, specifically public libraries, will always be an important place for anyone who wishes to educate themselves to be able to do so. Funding is another major challenge that libraries face, public libraries in particular, because we generate everything that we have based on taxpayers' dollars. And I know that the topic of taxation is a frustrating and difficult one to discuss, but our institution, the ability for people of all walks of life to educate themselves, is not possible without those taxpayers' dollars. They are the brick and mortar that allows free education in a public library and free entertainment services to be provided. I want to, just on a personal note, talk about the closing statement that I used as I have just received my master's in information and library science. I finished my impact essay for my portfolio with the following statement. I said, public libraries are the beating heart of a democratic society, as all must be able to educate themselves if they are to be truly free. As such, I will take the knowledge and skills that I learned from this program and apply them in everything that I do in the field of library and information science for as long as I'm a part of it. In this way, librarians can hope to aid people in their quest toward lifelong learning, and I hope to be instrumental in keeping our society one where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness can never be taken away. Now, I apologize for getting so personal, and I'll try not to get emotional, but in these difficult times, I think it's so important to remember that regardless of who you are, you have the right. You have the right, as enshrined in our Constitution, to read on anything you want to know about. You have the right to learn and to learn safely and freely in a common space for all people in our community. And that means so much to us here at the Belmore Memorial Library, and I hope that it means something to you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you soon.